Salutations, Imperial citizens and battle brothers. Today we will review some cards. Oh, that's the wrong background. Give me a second. Here we go. Now it's alright. We will be talking about Chapter Approved 2025. I'll be looking through the whole deck, explain how Chapter Approved, 2026. I will explain how Chapter Approved works, and I will be pointing out a small difference about how you play this deck out of the box, just to have fun with your friends, and how it would work in the actual tournament will be subject of another video. So let's just dive in right there. We go from the top. So first we have the deck, we have the little objective markers. These are smaller than before because remember, objective markers are no longer these small discs you put into the objective. Objective markers are now just markers on your terrain features. So it's not a 40mm chip you have to be within 3 inches of. It is now just a terrain feature and you have to touch the terrain feature to hold it. Pretty good. So these are here. And then we have the chapter approved booklet. This is, by the way, this is the deck from the Armageddon box set. If there are any differences between this box set and the actual release of the card deck, please tell me in the comments, and I'll be going over any differences. If there are so many, I have to review both. First, here we go. Introduction. The deployment deck has 6 cards. The forced disposition deck has 2 sets of 5. You have 30 primary mission cards, which is 25 different primaries, and the ones that are doubling because if you play Purge the Foe against Purge the Foe, both of you need the same card. So 5 of them are doubles and the other 25 are unique. There we go. We have the secondary mission deck, 18 attacker cards, 18 defender cards. That is 1 card fewer than we had in the last chapter approved. And we have 6 twist cards. Twist cards are obviously only used in order to make the game a bit more cinematic. There's stuff like night fighting, and you can draw a twist card if you play with this deck. You don't have to do that, and in tournaments you won't, but if you just play out of this deck, doesn't need to happen. Alright, here we go. The force dispositions have different things, and now we go over the things. So, muster armies. You have to muster an army as described in the app. Unfortunately, it doesn't say how to muster an army in this booklet. Then you determine the mission. Each player chooses a force disposition, and then that player uses that force disposition, and you both compare how you would play the game. In actual tournament play, that's not how that works, but in this box, that's how that works. And then you determine a deployment. You draw a random deployment card. You can add a twist if you want to. It says right here. And then you create the battlefield. You play a 44 by 60 millimeter size base. Then you roll 1d6. On a 1 to 5, you have 1 center objective. On a 6, you have 2. So this is basically just a way to set up terrain features, and then you just play the game instead of having a predetermined terrain layout. You determine attacker and defender. Then you deploy your things. You select secondaries. You can play fixed or tactical. There are only a few fixed missions you can actually play. They are denoted with the symbol as always. And then you do your secondaries, and it says how you score them and so on. So the way this actually works, you no longer discard your secondary cards at the end of turn. You just draw 2 new cards every single turn. And you can score up to 15 points of secondaries per turn. So if you draw Assassinate and Overwhelming Force on turn 1, you can just keep them for later, because they will be scoreable later in the game. So that's something that works. You also don't have to score a secondary. So if you kill 1 thing and you would score no prisoners for 2 points, you can just say, I'll wait until I kill some more stuff. That is completely viable to do. Excuse me. Then you do your declare battle formations. You say what units are in transport, what is in reserves, and then you deploy your armies. And it also says if you deploy a Titanic, you have to deploy 2 things in return. So basically, that all that works. And then you redeploy, and then you determine the first turn. So you redeploy first. It is also part of this rule set, not just the last one. And then you resolve anything like scout or prey or something like that. And then you begin the battle. You end the battle after the 5th turn, and then you determine who has more victory points. The way it works, you can score 45 primary, 45 secondary, and you get 10 points for a painted army. If you play a fixed secondary plan, you can only score 20 points per fixed secondary. So that is only a maximum of 40 primary if you max both of them. And then there is some stuff where it says how to do something if something leaves the battlefield, just some clarifications. And of course, here's something that explains the deployment. So red is the attacker's deployment, blue is the defender's deployment, no man's land is just gray, the background. Territory is something that used to exist, but it is now a lot more important according to the rules I'm playing with. Which is your half of the battlefield. So if you're the attacker, the attacker's half of the battlefield is your territory. And a lot of times you have to do something outside of your territory. You have your battlefield edge and your defender's battlefield edge that is also useful for some cards. And then you have home objective, central objective, expansion objective. So depending on what your cards say, because sometimes a mission says you have to do something in the center objective. And if there are multiple center objectives, because you have 2 instead of 1, this just makes it easier to understand which one is actually the center objective, because there can be something like on search and destroy when the battlefield is like quartered and all of the objectives are like in like a circle around the circle, and it's just like which ones is the center one. So this is just how you can tell. So overall, this booklet, I think, is pretty useful. I do think playing with this just for fun is also a really good time, and you should just give it a try if you're at the game store. Just put a twist in, set up some asymmetric terrain. I think it's fun. Hot take outside of some tournament play, the asymmetric missions in the last chapter approved were actually pretty fun, and I had some fun moments with those. But let's not get distracted, and we will talk about some cards here. We have some primary missions, and before we go into these, let's just take a look at those disposition cards. Here we go. So we will go over each force disposition here. So we have 2 of each, I believe. So we have 2 purge. Yeah, of course. Yeah, we have. Oh, the background makes it a bit easier. So you have 2 purge, 2 disruption, 2 taken hold, 2 this is reconnaissance, and 2 vital assets, I believe. Priority assets. Almost got there. Almost got there. So how is this sorted? We have the deployments, and then this is the primary. So we start with take and hold, then we take purge. After purge we take disruption. Yeah, okay, we take disruption after purge. Then we take the reconnaissance, and last is the vital the vital territory thing. Okay. So, here we go. The cards. Let's get this all. Let's put everything back in the box we have already talked about. So, here we go. This will be the one thing that will take the longest to explain because of how different it is. Let's see if we can make this a bit more zoomed up so we can look at the card in a bit more detail. Let's can we dim the light? Just a little bit. Yeah, it should be readable here. So, the way this works, the field disposition of your list determines which primary you play. So, if you and your opponent both have taken hold, you play the appropriate mission, which is the one that has you on take and hold and your opponent on take and hold. If your opponent has a different disposition, you will have an asymmetric mission. So, for example, if your opponent has purged the foe, you have taken hold, your opponent has purged the foe, you play this primary, and your opponent will have a completely different primary, and both of these will interact with each other in some way, but unless both of you have the same disposition, you will have a different game in all cases here. There are, I think, 25 different combinations of what you can play, and I want to dive into some of them. So these are the cards you just hand out to here. Here's your card you play on priority assets, and then if your opponent also plays on priority assets, both of you have this card, and then both of you can look, oh, my opponent plays the same thing, so we both need the same card. That's basically just how that works. You could also do something like, if you want to choose something hidden, you would put the card down like this, and then both of you reveal at the same time if you play with the deck as it is. Now we will take a look at the primary cards. I'm re-recording this because I got mixed up on what primary belongs to what, so I just made a system where I'm just gonna go through them in order, but I will always present both sides of the matchup where applicable. So, and then I will say a small little piece to each primary here. Let's take a look, for example, at this. We have Take and Hold versus Take and Hold. Take and Hold is the primary that is all about holding objectives and taking objectives and making sure you don't lose the objectives. So this is traditional 40k, go into the objectives and hold them gameplay. This is the mission both people play when there is a take and hold matchup. It's called Battlefield Dominance. At the end of your turn, if you control more objectives than your opponent, you get 2 points at the first and second battle round. From the second battle round onwards, it is all about controlling objectives for 3 points each and 2 additional points if you control your home objective. So in this matchup, it is very important. Hold your home objective, take your opponent's objectives away, very similar to how Linchpin used to play. And that, from my opinion, from my experience, also means if you have a way to take your opponent's home objective away, you will have a massive primary swing. Good. So this one is really traditional 40k. Whoever has better OC, better durability, more ways to take opponent's OC away is going to be favored in those matchups. Next, we have Purge the Foe versus Take and Hold. So here we have the Take and Hold mission, which is called Immovable Object. End of your turn, if you control the center objective, you get 3 points. Then command phase from second to fourth round. For each objective you control, excluding home, 5 points. And end of your turn, at the fifth one, each objective you control, 5 points. So pretty simple. The Take and Hold player just has to hold objectives all game long against the Purge player and gets 5 points for each. And if they so happen to control the center at the end of each turn, which is something you should probably try to do, you get 3 extra points per turn. And you can do this from turn 1. So if you just if you go first and you walk into the center, you get 3 points immediately. Sounds fine to me. So Purge the Foe has to do the following. It's called Unstoppable Force. Anytime, end of your turn, if you killed a unit, 3 points. Sounds easy enough. Command phase, second battle round onwards. For each objective you control, 4 points. So also a thing that is for each objective. And if you control one or more objectives you did not control at the start, both excluding home, you get 3 extra points. So this is a mix between like shock tactics or storm hostile objective and just hold an objective. So the Purge the Foe player is also incentivized to hold objectives, and then at the end of the game, if they control the center or one of the centers, you get 5 points. Now, this matchup, I feel like favors the purge player a bit more, because I think holding the center objective multiple times is a bit more difficult to just kill a unit. I think that is just a bit more difficult. Both players get points for just holding objectives. The purge player gets fewer points, but the purge player also gets rewarded for pushing the opponent off of objectives. So if the take and hold player has 3 objectives for 15 points, and then the purge player has 3 objectives for 12, and then they also take one back that is also 15. So it's basically the same. I think the end of the game condition here, controlling the center, is a bit more doable, just to get 5 points. But the reward for the take and hold player is just follow the game plan, get extra points, and then you can always make the comeback move at the end by just walking onto as many objectives as you can. And you can actually deny the purge player his points if the purge player went first, which could be pretty interesting. All right, next we have take and hold versus disruption. Determined acquisition. The take and hold player has to do the following. End of your turn. For each objective you control that you did not control at the start, excluding home, 2 points. So you have a permanent storm hostile objective active for 2 points if you take objectives you didn't previously hold. And then in the command phase, you get 3 points for each objective you control, and 3 extra points if it's in your opponent's half of the table. Seems reasonable to me. So this one is also pretty easy. The take and hold player just has to bully the opponent off of objectives. The disruption player, on the other hand, has to do the following. They can trap objectives. It's called Death Trap. Let's look at the action. Now, you can use it unlimited times in the shooting phase. Each unit that is on an objective, on a different objective, can do the action, and then if you control it, it is immediately happening. Do you even have to control it? You don't have to control it, actually. You just need to be in there. Okay, so if you do the action on a terrain feature, it is now trapped. And the trapped condition is important for the primary. So let's read on. End of your turn. For each terrain area trapped this turn, 2 points. And then if the terrain feature is also an objective, 3 extra points. Sounds pretty good. So if you trap every objective on turn 1, if there's like 3 objectives in the mid board and like 2 terrain features that are not objectives, you just get 6 plus you get 10 plus 6 is like 16 points all in one turn. But then you don't get anything else. End of your turn also. If you destroy an enemy unit that started the turn on a trapped terrain area, that terrain you get 3 points. So if your opponent does the take and hold thing on objectives and you kill them on the objective while it is trapped, 3 points. Okay, pretty interesting. And then and then also you get 4 points for if you control 1 or more objectives outside of your home objective. Okay, so this is pretty interesting. The take and hold player basically plays into the death trap by just being on the objectives, because that's what they have to do. But the death trap player also has to make sure that the take and hold player has to die on the objective. So this is a very cool thing where both players play for the same conditions, but they do it in different ways because they naturally flow into each other's win cons here. I really like this. I want to see this in action. This sounds pretty fun. Next, we have we have take and hold versus reconnaissance. So, end of your turn, any battle round, if you destroy a unit that was on an objective, 3 points, or if you are on the objective and you kill something, 3 points. So 1 or more, doesn't matter how many you kill, you get 3 points depending on which condition you fulfill. You don't get both. And then in the command phase, second battle round onwards, you get 4 points for each objective outside of your home. And if you control 1 objective you didn't control, also 3 points. So another storm hostile objective added to the take and hold player. So the recon player is playing reconnaissance sweep. There's no action involved, actually. End of your turn. If 3 or more friendly units are wholly within 3 different table quarters and not within 6 of the center, 3 points. Or if you are in 4 different quarters, you get 6. You can't get 9, so it's either or. So you don't even have to be on the objectives. You just have to be around and score 6 points. End of the turn, each enemy unit destroyed gives you 1 point. Important thing to note about this timing: if you destroy a unit in your opponent's turn, like with Overwatch or a fight phase or something, you don't get the kill points. So if you play against this, try to get your units killed while your opponent is doing the gameplay right now. So if you have like one intercessor left that is still alive, just charge him into something and hope he dies, just to deny the 1 point. Could be useful. Unless that intercessor is like scoring a secondary or something, but you know what I mean. Second battle round onwards, if you control 1 or more objectives, 3 points. That is not a lot of score for the primary. So the way this plays out, and I think this is like the opposite of what we just read, where both of the primaries kind of naturally interacted with each other. In this mission, both players kind of do completely different things. The Purge player wants to be on objectives and kill things on objectives. And the recon player doesn't really want to be on objectives, so they just want to dance around the quarters of the board. But if the recon player ignores the take and hold player on the objective, the take and hold player will just keep scoring fours. But if the take and hold player does nothing but stand on objectives, they will never get those. They will never prevent the quarters from being scored. And but if the recon player wants to go on the objectives, then they can get killed. So it is kind of like both of these don't want to interact with each other at all. Or basically, the recon player has very little incentive to actually go to the objectives, which means the take and hold player will get the 4 points, but not the 3. And the take and hold player actually has to get out to get those table quarter units out. This is a really weird primary. Yeah. Pretty strange, this one. And last we have vital assets versus take and hold. So take and hold has to do inescapable dominion. End of your turn, if you control 3 or more, 4 points. Command phase, you control 2 or more, 5, and if you control more, 4. So you can take 9 points of primary if you successfully hold on to 2 and more of the in total objectives. End of the battle, the opponent's home objectives were 5 points. This sounds like a pretty good little Hail Mary, because if you make sure you control 4 objectives every turn, that is 20 points on the primary every turn, and then you have the if you just hang on to your home and one other one every turn, that is like another 4 times 5, that's another 20, and then it's like 20, it's like 40, and if you then steal the opponent's home objective or you get the hold more like once or twice, you can max your primary that way. And the vital assets player has to do a secure assets. A friendly unit has to secure an asset. Let's look at the action here. It's on the backside. Your shooting phase, a unit has to be within range of an objective once per turn, so only 1 unit. And it ends immediately if you control the objective, and then it's secured. So basically what happens is, end of your turn, a friendly unit secures the assets. That means you have to have a unit on an objective you control and hit the button. And if you hit the button, you get 4 points every turn. That is also a 20. And this would be like in the Gladius. You have a triple Ballistus Dreadnought on one objective, that's 12 OC, and then you have one combi lieutenant at the bottom little corner of the objective doing the action every turn, and then your opponent has to do something about it, because you will just secure that asset every turn. Doesn't have to be the center one, right? Nope, just any objective, except for the home. Also, if you killed a unit that started the turn in the center objective, 2 points. Okay, so like a little overwhelming force every turn. And then you also get in your command phase, you get 4 points if you control 3 or more, and you get 4 points if you control 1 outside of the deployment zone. Yeah. So control free versus control free. The take and hold player has a more generous timing at end of turn, but they do fight against each other. So this is basically a very objective focused game where both players want to bully each other off of objectives. The take and hold player basically just has to take objectives and hold objectives, while the secure asset player has one downside where they have to do an action every turn, but they also have one benefit where they just need to kill something every turn. So it's not that complicated. I think this is going to be a very balanced way to play a game of 40k. And I would be interested in how fun this matchup is. That was the take and hold stuff. So let's go into Purge the Foe. If both people play Purge the Foe, we have to play Meat Grinder. Meat Grinder is very similar to the old Purge the Foe, which means you have the following. Any battle round, if you kill a unit, 3 points. Doesn't matter how many, just kill something, 3 points. Second battle round onwards, if you control an objective in your command phase, 4 points. Also, second battle round onwards, if you killed more objectives, if you killed more enemy units than they killed of you, you get 5 points. So it is the basic kill more. If you killed more of them than they killed of you, 5 points. Also, if you control your opponent's home objective, 5 points. So there is no hold more objectives, but there is a hold the home objective for like this little extra sting. But in total, you just want to kill something, hold something, and make sure you kill more than they kill of you. And both players do the same thing. So this is just gonna be a slap fight. Both players are just gonna be at each other's throats, tearing each other's guts out, and that's what the game is all about. Really simple, really fun. Next we have Purge versus the primary assets here. Versus the vital assets. So here we have Destroyer's Wrath. Here we go. Purge the Foe has to. End of your turn, destroy one or more units. Just kill something, get 3 points. Second battle round onwards, if you control one or more objectives, 4 points. And if you control more than the opponent, 6 points. Okay, so there's a hold more here. And it's worth 6 points. So if you hold 1 and then hold more, you get a 10-point swing. So that's 13 with a kill. Also, at the end of your turn, from the second battle round onwards, there's also a kill more. So if you killed more than they killed of you, 4 points extra. So this is actually the classic the classic Purge the Foe. But it's like one person is playing Purge and the other is playing something else. The vital assets player here is gonna play the following. End of turn, if you control the center, you get 2 points, and if you have an operation marker on the center objective you control, you get an additional 1 for each. Okay, so what is a operation marker? We have an action called maintain control. The player here has to do an action in the center objective. It completes end of the turn if you control it, and then you put an operation marker on it. So each turn you can put 1 marker on the center objective. So you just have to hold the center. That is your one and only job. Hold the center, do the action, and then stack up the points. So turn 1, you get 3 points. Turn 2, you get 4, that's 7. Turn 3, you get 5, that's 12. Turn 4, you get 6, that's and so on. Math is hard. So you just have to do this. However, make sure you actually control it, because if you don't control it, you don't get the bonus points, because there's a plus here. Second battle round onwards, you get 4 points if you control one objective, excluding home, and you get another 4 if you control the center. So this one is really all about the center objective. And end of the battle, 10 points for the enemy home objective. This one seems like a big swing. So if you can put something back into reserve with like a not a redeploy, but like an up-down ability, and then make sure on turn 4 you bring it in when all the screens are down and you make way for the enemy home without them being able to take it back, this might be a way for you to win. My gut feeling is the Purge player is massively favored in this matchup, because it is basically the vital assets player has to put everything in the center every single turn because the center is that important, and the purge player just has to kill them off the center every time. And if the purge player makes sure they can't get to the center, that will massively crater the scoreboard because that means they only get 4 points per turn if they can never make it to the center. That is pretty interesting. Feels like vital assets is pretty bad in this matchup. Then we have Purge the Foe versus Recon. Here we go. There's a lot of text here. I will try to summarize it a bit. It's called Consecrate. So, if one of your unit destroys an enemy unit, that unit becomes consecrated. So it's a consecration unit. At the end of your turn, for each consecration unit, so each unit that killed something, you can select an objective they are in range of, excluding the home objective. So if you kill something at the end of the turn, if you're on an objective, you can then consecrate the objective. And then that objective is consecrated and your unit stops being consecrated. So basically, it's kind of like a weird sticky kind of. Obviously, if you kill a unit on an objective, you are automatically on it yourself, which means you get the consecration right away, end of turn. Any battle round end of turn, 1 or 2 objectives are consecrated, or 3 or more are consecrated. So you get 3 points or 6 points. They don't stack. You also get 4 points if you control one objective outside of your deployment zone, and 4 points if you control more than your opponent. So this is like another hold and hold more. And then instead of kill more, it is like kill and be on an objective, kind of. It doesn't matter where the enemy unit is. You just have to kill something and then touch an objective. So you can kill something and then move up to your opponent's area and then take the objective there. Because that is important for the end of game. If you consecrate your enemy's home objective, 5 points for you. Interesting, actually. Pretty interesting. The recon player has to do triangulation, which says, in second battle round onwards, if you control one or more objectives, excluding home, 4 points. So there's a simple hold. No hold more. However, second battle round onwards, end of your turn, if you have one objective triangulated, 3 points. If it's 2, 6, and if it's 3 or more, 10. And end of the battle, if you control 4 objectives in total, 10 more points. Now, what is triangulate? It's an action. You can only do it once per turn, and you have to be within range of an objective, and you have to control it. Which means that objective is triangulated, and you put a marker down, which then means you score your points. So you can't do this on turn 1, right? It is second battle round onwards. So in order to get the 10 points, it has to be turn 4 in order to get the 10 points. Because on turn 2 you do 1, turn 3 you do 2, turn 4 you do 3. But it's end of turn. Okay, at least you score it right away. So yeah, that is pretty interesting. So in comparison, there's nothing that states a objective can't be consecrated and triangulated at the same time. So both players try to do some weird stuff on the objectives, and then do play the game around that. I do think the end of battle condition for the recon player is a bit harder because controlling 4 objectives end of game basically means you have to like table your opponent and still have assets left at the end of the game, which the purge player obviously doesn't want because they want to kill you. So I do think this whole idea, and you also have to do an action, which also means you probably are easy to kill because you have to be on the objective, which then means the unit that kills your action unit is now consecrated and can immediately smear blood all over the objective. That's what it is. So yeah, I do think purge kind of completely runs into the recon player on this matchup. So that's what I think. Last we have Purge the Foe versus Disruption. This one is interesting because I actually played it and I have some opinions about it. So at the start of your turn, you select 1 to 3 enemy units, so between 1 and 3, that are within range of an objective or that destroyed a friendly unit in a previous turn. If there is no unit that is eligible, so there's nothing on an objective and nothing has killed anything, you just pick any unit. And that unit is consecrated. Killing a is condemned, excuse me, condemned. And if you kill a condemned unit at the end of a turn, you get 5 points. Easy enough. Second battle round onwards, you get 4 points if you hold an objective, and you get 5 points if you hold more. So there's another hold and hold more for the Purge player. Also, if you control your opponent's home objective at the end of the battle, you get 8 points. 8 points is a lot of points. The Disruption player, on the other hand, has delaying action. Any battle round, end of your turn, if you kill a unit, you get 2 points. There's no cap on this, and for per turn or per whatever, you just kill your opponent and get 2 points for each unit. You also get 1 point if you hold an objective outside of your deployment zone and in your command phase, and end of your turn, if you control one central objective and one expansion objective, you get another 3 points. This one triggers end of turn, so it is very doable if you can reliably flip the center, but that is, in my opinion, the problem. You run into the objectives to clear them, so you have the center, and then your opponent has something they can consecrate, and then they get the 5 points. This one feels a bit rigged, in my opinion, and let me explain why. Because Art of War says this is probably favored for the Disruption player, because the Disruption player has a lot of agency about what is actually condemnable, and and how the opponent can approach the objectives and stuff like that. But in my opinion, this feels rigged against the Disruption player for one simple reason, and that is the kill thing. If you build a purge list with like 6 units in it, like 6 big knights, you are not getting a lot of kill points from 6 big knights. And if you can't kill the big 6 knights, like at all, your opponent will just pick one unit because you didn't kill anything and you don't want to be on objectives, I guess. They will just pick one of your things and kill it and then get 5 points. The way this actually works out is the Disruption player just has to flip the script here. Just kill your opponent. Kill your opponent as fast as you can. Your kill count is uncapped. Your opponent can only get 5 kills per turn. So turn 1, they're not killing anything because you have hidden yourself away. Turn 2, you kill so much, and then they get 5 points because they kill one of you. Then you kill more stuff, they get 5 points, kill some of you. Then you kill everything else they have that can even remotely deal damage to you. And then that's it. You killed your opponent's entire army. Let's say they have 15 units in their army and you kill like 12 of them. That's 24 primary. Your opponent killed 3 units and they ran out of gas. That is 15 for them. You lead with 7 points primary. Now, you also need to flip the center a few times to make sure they don't get a hold more, but that is a thing. I think the condition to hold the enemy objective just needs to go away from this card. I think the primary is already so good for the Purge player. Just remove this little sentence here, and I think it would be fine. I do think this is one of Disruption's better matchups, but I do think if you build a list purposely made for Purge, it is really difficult to get those kill points. And if your opponent puts just... Let's just say your opponent puts 2 units of Custodian Guard into the center. That is 15 OC with a character 18 times 2, so like between 30 and 36 OC in one objective. How are you gonna flip that? Like, ever? How are you ever gonna flip that to get those extra points? That seems pretty ridiculous. So I don't like my chances in that matchup. Now we go to Reconnaissance. This is the Reconnaissance versus Reconnaissance game. So this is what both people are playing at. There's an action involved, and I will get to that as soon as we go to what the action actually does. So first battle round, control the center, 6 points. So both people want to run the center turn 1 to get 6 points. That is probably mandatory. If you don't get that turn 1, you probably lost the game on the spot, because both people really, really need to get those 6 points, because that's a massive leap. Second battle round onwards, in your command phase, if you control 1 or more, you get outside of your deployment zones, you get 4 more. So just hold 1 outside of the home objective. Okay. And then we go to gather intelligence. For each friendly unit that completed the extract intelligence action, you get 7 points. So what is the extract intelligence action? Okay. In your shooting phase, from the second battle round, one unit within range of one objective that does not have any operation markers within range of it. Okay. And it is unlimited, so you can do this as many times as you want, and you have to control it. Okay. So you have to be on an objective that doesn't have an operation marker, so excluding your home marker. And then you put an operation marker on it. Okay. And then you get 7 points for each time this was completed. So there's a finite amount of times you can complete the action. It also only starts on turn 2. Okay, so you can spend turn 1 just going into the center. End of the battle. There are 3 or more of your operation markers on the battlefield, and 5 extra points if one of your operation markers is within range of the opponent's home objective. So the way this works, there is no way to remove the operation markers. So both players have to do this action as many times as they can in all of the objectives they can in order to get their primary. The other primaries are not that important. Interesting. So both people just skirmish around and try to figure out what's going on. Kind of weird. I wonder how many people are gonna play this matchup because I don't think recon armies are that popular. Maybe if you play like Genestealer versus Eldar, this could be like a thing, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so that is one. Now we have Reconnaissance versus Disruption. Here we go. This one involves operation markers as well. And this is the one I got tripped up and got 2 cards confused in my first attempt to record this little session here. I'll do my best. Okay. Each time a friendly unit ends a move within range of an objective that has an operation marker, remove an operation marker. So if you step on an objective with an operation marker, you take it out. You remove it from the objective. Makes sense to me. End of your turn. Enemy units were surveilled. And that is now an action. So let's take a look at the action. So your shooting phase, a friendly unit, 1, so once per turn. No, wait, it's unlimited. Never mind. Completes immediately. You have to be within 18 and visible of your opponent. So your opponent can't be hidden because then it would be 15 inches. So you have to see your opponent and say, I'm doing the action. And then your opponent is surveilled. And then until the end of the turn, that unit is surveilled. So it's only surveilled for 1 turn, so it doesn't stay surveilled. Okay. So what happens in the primary? At the end of the turn, if an enemy unit was surveilled and it is not in range of an objective with an operation marker, 4 points. So if you go on an objective to remove the marker and then surveil the unit, you get 4 points. Or if you surveil something out in the open, you also get 4 points. But it doesn't matter how many times you do it, you only get 4. Okay. Here we go. Second battle round onwards. You get 1 or more, 4. Yep, when you control more. So if you have a hold and a hold more. Makes sense. End of the game. End of turn. There are no operation markers left. So if you take all of the operation markers off the board, you get 5 points every time, end of turn. Disruption has smoke and mirrors. End of your turn. For each objective that is decoyed, let's see what decoyed does. Okay. Your shooting phase. 1 unit within range of an objective that is not decoyed and not your home objective. So 1 other objective. You can do it as many times as you want, but it has to be on a different objective. Okay. End of your turn, you control the objective. Fine. That objective is decoyed and you put an operation marker on it. Okay, so the game starts with 0 operation markers. You put 1 down by doing an action, and your opponent takes them away by just walking on it. That already seems rigged for the recon player, but let's figure out what that actually does. You get 2 points for each decoyed objective. And if they are in the opponent's territory, that is 2 extra points. Okay, That doesn't seem like a lot of points. You also get 4 points if you have a hold. Not hold more, just a hold. And end of the battle, if you decoy 4 objectives, you get 10 points. Oh, that is pretty interesting. Okay, end of battle, control 4 objectives, but you have to do an action. So you can't just charge on it and then control it. That is pretty hard to do. Wow. Yeah, 10 points. Not bad. That is pretty difficult to do. Okay, so let's review this. So both players have to do a lot of actions, but I do think this the disruption player having to do an action and not getting that many points out of it, and they immediately lose all of their points, is pretty rough. This is especially bad if you put down like 3 of those markers and then your opponent walks onto all 3 objectives. They don't even have to control them, they just have to touch them. And then they get 5 points right away. And then you put one down and then they walk on it and they get 5 points. And then, like, this seems so bad for disruption. Wow. This seems incredibly bad for disruption. Especially because you have to do it in the opponent's territory, which is most likely the terrain they are most likely able to just move onto. Like, a friendly unit ends a move within range of one objective that has one of any of your opponents remove those operation markers. Okay. Each time a friendly unit ends a move within range of one object. Yeah, this seems like busted for recon. This is like probably the worst matchup I've seen so far. Yeah, this seems pretty bad for the poor disruption player. Here we have Search and Scour, that is recon versus vital assets. End of your turn, if you control the center, you get 3 points, okay? And if you killed a unit that started the turn on an area, you get 3 points. Okay, so it is control the center and kill something on an objective. So it is like, oh no, on a terrain feature, it's better than an objective. 2 points, that's why it's only 2, it's easier. You also get 4 points for holding an objective. And end of the battle, if there are no enemy units within your half of the board, 5 points. Could be a bit difficult to do unless you table your opponent. So this is kind of a kill objective, right? Because you want to kill your objective and you don't get... Yeah, but it's like a bad kill objective. Okay, let's see what the asset player has to do. Vanguard Operation. End of your turn. A friendly unit performed a Vanguard Operation, see reverse. 1 or more enemy units were destroyed. 2 points. Okay, so 4 points for a Vanguard Operation. So what is the Vanguard Operation? Your shooting phase, 1 unit within a terrain feature in your opponent's territory. Ooh, interesting. Once per turn, you have to make sure that no enemy units are on the terrain. Oh, so you don't just have to control it, it has to be cleared. Okay, but it doesn't have to be an objective. It can be any terrain feature. You perform the action in the shooting phase, and then you get all of the benefits here. Okay, so you have to go into your opponent's half of the board and do an action on an objective. And you can do that every turn, but you do have to kind of position in a way where you can actually go for it. Okay, so that is why it's 4 points for each. You also get 2 points if you kill something. Okay, makes sense to me. If you control your opponent's home objective, 10 points. Okay. Second battle round onwards, if you control 1 or more objectives, 4 points. So it's a hold. Okay, so this is pretty interesting because the recon player doesn't get that many points. And the recon player has to naturally make sure that the opponent doesn't get the Vanguard action done, because at the end of the game, they want them to be out of the half of the board here. The Vital Assets player, unlike the other missions, just has to shove their army into midboard and then across midboard. You have to clear no man's land and start plotting down on your opponent's objectives and kill them while you're at it. This one seems like it could be pretty fun. Yeah, this one seems pretty fun. I want to play this one. This one seems pretty fun. And here we go. We are now at the vital assets primaries here. So here we go. It is sabotage. This is when both people play the priority assets primary. End of turn for each unit that committed sabotage. Let's read what sabotage does. There's always an action on these. Sabotage. Action. Your shooting phase. One unit within range of one objective excluding home. You can do it as many times as you want. End of your turn. Controls the objective. Your unit commits sabotage. Okay. End of your turn. Each friendly unit that committed sabotage gets you 3 points. Okay. And if you're within the opponent's territory, you get another 2 points. Okay, interesting. So do as many actions on objectives as you can to get your primary. And you also get 4 points in your command phase if you have hold one. Okay, so this one isn't as much about holding objectives as much as it is about just doing the action. So both players want to do the action, but because they have to control the objective, you still need to kill them. So this one basically means you want to you always want to have like 2 units on the objective, like one to clear it and then one to do the action, and then that kind of happens here. Interesting. Don't know what to think about this, but it looks pretty interesting. It's a very low point game as far as I can see, because there's not that many points you can make. Then we have the priority asset versus disruption. Let's read the action first. Sensor sweep. It's called extract the relic. Your shooting phase. One unit within range of a center objective. Okay, so we have to go back to the center like in Purge the Foe. You perform the sensor sweep and remove an operation marker from the battlefield. Okay. Restrictions. A unit cannot start this action if there's only one objective marker on the battlefield. So you can't remove the last one. Interesting. Okay, I see how that works. So you go into the center and you do the action to remove a counter from something. You get 4 points. You can do this turn 1, right? Yes, you can do this turn 1. A friendly unit performed a sensor sweep, 4 points. If you killed a unit that started on an objective, 3 points. Only one of your opponent's operation markers on the battlefield, and only if one of your units are within range of the same area and that operation marker, and there are no enemy units. Okay, so you remove it, right? It's not your opponent removes it. You decide which you remove. Okay, so basically the way it works, you remove there are like 5 counters, I assume, on the board. You remove one of them each time you do the action. You can do it once per turn. And once there is only one of those things left, you go on that objective to get your extra points. I see. You also get 4 points for the hold. And end of the battle. If one of your opponent's operation markers on the battlefield, so it's only one, and your unit is on it, and there are no, so 5. So it's the same thing as the end of turn 1, and you also get it at the end of battle. So you can get 9 points if you do it on the last turn. Pretty interesting. Locate and deny is the one from disruption. Start of the battle. Select 5 terrain areas not within your deployment zone. For each one, place an operation marker within it. If you can't, do so for each marker not in your deployment zone. Okay, so every terrain feature gets a marker. Unless there's less than 5, then you pick which 5 that is as the disruption player. End of your turn. One or more enemy units that started the turn within range of one or more objectives is destroyed. Okay, so if you kill something on an objective, 4 points. If there's only one operation marker left, if there's only one operation marker left, and you are on that objective and your opponent is not, you get 4 points. So it's the same thing as what the vital mission guy has to do, right? One of your operation markers, one of your opponents, one or more of your units are within the same thing as the marker, and no enemy units. Yeah, okay, yeah, it's the same thing. Okay. Primary, you get 4 for the hold, and then it's the end of the game. It's the same thing. There's also an action. Sensor sweep. Oh, it's the same thing. Okay. Oh, that is interesting. Okay, so it's the same action. So both people have to go to the center, do the action, and remove an objective. So this is like a mirror match, actually. This is like very, very similar. The disruption player is not rewarded in points for doing the action, but they get more points for killing the opponent. This seems pretty balanced, I think. This seems pretty balanced, so it is easier for the disruption player to make 8 points, but the priority asset player can make 10 points. Excuse me, 11 points. Yeah, because they don't have to do an action. They can do the action, and the disruption player is the one who picked which markers are still left. This also means you are fighting over the center in this one on both ends. This is a fun one. This is one I really want to try. This one seems pretty fun. Please tell me in the comments if you've played Extract the Relic and Locate and Deny, how that went for you. Last but not least, we have Disruption. Disruption is the primary where you try to mess with your opponent's game plan and then score your points that way. This is the Disruption versus Disruption matchup. There's no action involved, just the following. If you control your opponent's home objective, you get 10 points. This triggers every single turn. That is kind of bananas. So if you trade home bases, both of you just keep scoring, I guess. End of the battle round. End of turn for each objective, 4 points, so it's a hold. But in the first one, okay, so for each, no, it's not a hold. So first turn you get 4 points for each objective. Okay. Second and third onwards, you get 5 for each objective. And fourth turn, you get 6 for each objective. Okay. Okay, so you don't get points for your own home objective, but if your opponent takes your home objective, they get 10 points. So you kind of want to defend it. This is bananas. This is like the take and hold mirror on crack. This one seems pretty rough. Yeah, if both people want to disrupt each other, it's just like they're fighting over every single objective because they're worth so many points. This one is pretty insane. Yeah, I have no idea how to evaluate that one. Whew, okay, that was all the primaries. My gut feeling tells me that Purge the Foe is a bit too easy to score. That is my first guesstimation here. I think vital assets can be pretty good, but you need to bring enough units that can do actions. And for armies that don't, I hope they give them some stratagems in future codexes that allow them to do like shoot an action or fall back in action, something like that. That would be something I would appreciate, because if you can just the Purge the Foe versus vital intelligence matchup seems pretty bad. And the worst matchup out of all the cards seems to be the Recon Disruption one, because I don't see how the Recon player ever loses that game. It is so easy for the Recon player to play. We have the 6 deployment maps, and it is the exact same as the ones we had. So let's talk about some of them. We have the beloved one, the favorite one from all tournaments. We have the Dawn of War. It's the 12 inches into the center, long edges. It is now more or less the same measurements. I think the markers changed slightly, if at all, and obviously the half of the table is pretty easy to tell which player has half of what. Pretty interesting. We have the sweeping engagement. Pretty interesting. The card is. You can turn it around in any way, huh? Yeah, they're cool. I guess. Oh, I guess this is the correct way because the letters are on the right way. Yeah, sweeping engagement. It's like a Dawn of War with a bigger focus on these 2 edge points where both players can immediately start fighting. A favorite of the melee armies. Both of these matchups are pretty good if you have a gun army, because it is easy to get line of sight on those. We have Tipping Point, which is the fancy version of Hammer and Anvil. It is less symmetrical than Hammer and Anvil because the objectives aren't just in a straight line across from each other. And, they no longer are. Oh, they changed that in Hammer and Anvil, so let's talk about that. So Hammer and Anvil, the objectives, which used to be all in one line, are now a bit split. So there is not just this huge mosh pit in the center over all the objectives. So yeah, these two seem pretty equal. You are a bit further up in Tipping Point, but and then down here, but in Hammer it's equal. So it is like pretty pretty similar. Both of these are popular deployments in tournaments. Then we have Crucible of Battle, which is always pretty rough to get shot on, because a lot of these staging ruins on the flanks are actually fake, because your opponent can very easily just walk and see into them. Pretty annoying. Yeah, we have the objectives here. Yep, seems pretty much as we all know it. You will encounter this layout a lot in tournaments, so get prepared to deploy correctly on them. And last but not least, it's my least favorite. I hate this one. I hate it so much. It's my least favorite deployment in the world. It's Search and Destroy. You don't have any space to deploy your army. It is almost impossible to hide stuff because everything has to be in this tiny little cardboard. And if you put too many things into reserves, you get run over because your opponent has a approximately 10-inch gap between deployment zones if they put something right in that corner. Yeah. Yeah, this is a rough one. The deployment is the same as it used to be, 1410, and there's the 9-inch circle. Yeah, I don't know how to make this better, and I'm one of the few people who hate it. Most people like this one. I just can't stand Search and Destroy. I got better at it. One of my favorite ways to play it is you have to have some sort of like scout or infiltrate to make sure you can push into either direction to turn it from a quarter into like a Dawn of War against a bad Dawn of War or something. So, or in Hammer and Anvil. So if you scout this way, you now have a Hammer and Anvil in which your opponent forgot to deploy over here. Yeah. Those are the deployments. Let's finally talk about the secondaries. For you, it was just a cut. For me, it was a bit of a break because we spent so much time talking about primaries. Here is Attacker and Defender, the secondary decks. Both of these decks are identical. Again, there's asymmetric warfare going on in which order you draw, and in the primaries if you have a mismatched disposition. However, the decks itself are identical. So I'll just be taking the attacker deck here because I'm aggressive. So let's go over this deck in a way where it makes sense. A Grievous Blow. This is a new secondary, didn't exist before. When drawn, if there are no enemy units with a starting strength of 13 plus, you can discard it and draw a new one. You can keep it if you feel like it, but I don't know. On the battlefield, I guess you could wait if your opponent has something in reserve. That would make sense. Okay. End of the turn. You get 4 points if you fix it. Oh, this one is fixable. Interesting. Grievous Blow. Okay. And you get 5 points if you draw it. And you can only get 5 points out of it. So if you kill 2 units, you only scored once. Starting strength of 13 plus means it has to be a unit with multiple models, or it has to be like a singular big model with more than that many wounds. So 13 is an unfortunate breakpoint. I wish it was 12. So you could punish vehicle spam. I am worried about 11th edition becoming vehicle spam again because I am sick of seeing tanks. I don't want to see 15 tanks per tournament anymore. Stop it. I want to see 2. Show me 2 tanks in one list. That's all I want to see. Yeah, this one is fixable. I think this combines Bring It Down with Cull the Horde a little bit, because it obviously also applies if you have 13 or more models here. This one is cool. And this also means, just like before, if you put 1 unit in your list with 13 models, you can block the redraw and they have to kill it. So something like Titus with the Wardens and some Blade Guard, or 10 something or something. That would block a redraw on this card. And they have to actually deal with the unit. What is bad about it is your opponent doesn't have to discard the card to get a new card, so it might actually be a downside to go for this big unit now. Interesting. Next, we have No Prisoners. No Prisoners has not changed in the slightest. If you kill a unit, you get 2 points, up to a maximum of 5. The only difference now is the way attached units work. If you have 1 unit with a leader in it, or 2 leaders, if you kill the entire thing, it only counts as 1 kill now. So if you kill a unit plus its leader, it's no longer 4 points just like that. Massive change, but that's how it works. Here we have Bring It Down. This one is fixable. When drawn, if there are no enemy models with wounds of 10 or more on the battlefield, you can discard it and draw a new one. Each time you kill an enemy model with a wounds characteristic of 10 or more, you get points. Oh, this one is pretty good. Oh, never mind. This one actually does hurt vehicles. 4 points per tank. That is pretty good. So that means if I kill 5 war dogs, this is maxed out. Hell yeah, sign me up. I'm in here. You also get 5 points if you draw it in tactical, which is when most people are gonna play it. I like this. This is a massive improvement. Pretty good. And as far as I can tell, if you play against big knights, you can stack these. So if your opponent has 5 big knights, if you table them, you get the full 40. I mean, Ultramarines can kill knights. That's pretty good. I like this one. Pretty good. Yeah. This is a massive help. This will discourage vehicle spam armies a lot. Because if I see War Dog spam, I will fix it. I will fix it and I will kill them. Kill them to death. Next, we have Cleanse. This one is unfortunately not fixable. So what does it do? When drawn, if the Plunder secondary is active, you can draw a new one. Okay, so you don't have to. It's an action secondary. 1 unit within range, unlimited. You can do it as many times as you want. But you have to be on different objectives. And if you control it at the end of turn, it is completed and cleansed. And if you cleansed 1 objective, you get 2 points. And if you cleanse 2 or more, you get 5. So obviously no point in cleansing 12 times. But if you have some shaky cleanses where you rely on not getting battle shocked or winning a combat to have enough OC to take it while you already started, so yeah, you can do multiple cleanses. But yeah, good stuff. Cleanse. Assassinate. This one is fixable. End of turn. Each enemy character model is worth 3 points if you fix it, and if you fix it and the character has 4 or more wounds, it is also 1 extra point. Cumulative. That means... Yep, but... Yeah, it doesn't really change. So you get 4 points if the character is a bit more woundy. So not like a tiny GSC guy, more like a Space Marine captain. Or any Space Marine character, for that matter. If you draw it in tactical, you have to kill... all character models during the game, or if you kill 1 model while you draw this card. Okay, makes sense. So yeah, 5 points for that. Assassinate, good card, bad on turn 1, but remember you can keep it now. Display of Might, it's back. You can now score it on turn 1. There's nothing about redrawing it. End of your turn, there are more friendly units than enemy units with wholly within no man's land. 2 points. Or there are more friendly units. What is the difference? Oh, I see. Okay, I see. So if you want to score it during your turn, you score 2 points and you score it right away. If you want to gamble about being able to have more units in mid-board for an entire cycle, you get 5. Pretty interesting. I like this. Overwhelming Force. It's back. It's almost the same as ever. You get 3 points up to 5 each time you destroy a unit on an objective. Pretty good. Only downside here, remember the change I mentioned for no prisoners. If you kill a unit on an objective with a character, you no longer max it out right then and there. You have to actually kill 2 different units now. You can't just kill one thing with an attachment. Plunder. This one is the reverse of Cleanse. If you have Cleanse, you can draw a new one if you want to and shuffle this one back. It's an objective action. 1 unit, only once per turn within a terrain feature that is not in your territory can plunder. End of your turn, you plunder it for 5 points. Okay, so you have to make it to a terrain feature in your opponent's side of the table. and do an action there. It's nothing about objectives, so you just have to do one action. So this is one action. This was cleanse was the other, and if you draw both of them, you can shuffle either one back into the deck. Yep, makes sense. Forward position. When drawn, if this is the first battle round, you can draw a new one. Okay, yep, you don't have to. You control each opponent's home objective. You control the opponent's home objective or each expansion objective. This is a difficult card. This is a really difficult card. This might be a contender for the hardest card to score unless you are already winning. Controlling each objective in the center, that is a bit tough. I wonder how that actually plays out. I wonder how that one plays out. I think I scored it because I just accidentally made it to my opponent's home objective. That said, it is more difficult to screen the backfield now, and a lot of cards don't even mention the backfield, so you are less inclined to actually hold it unless your opponent has to take it for like 10 points or something. So yeah, you could actually feasibly score this, so I don't mind. Okay. A tempting target, it's back. I love tempting target. It's such a fun card. Your opponent selects one objective with a no man's land to be the tempting target. Excluding home objectives. But how can a home objective be in no man's land? Makes no sense to me, but sure. Any battle round, you control the tempting target, 5 points. A tempting target is now a bit better than it used to be because you can keep it. You don't have to draw it on turn 1 and your opponent is like, hey, come over here. And then you have to throw away like a really fast, expensive unit to get your 5 points on turn 1. So I think this is a really good card to just hold on to. And maybe you can get the 5 points at some point. Secure no man's land, it's back. If you control 2 or more objective in no man's land, not your home objective. I don't know why that is part of the thing. I score 5. Unless there's like terrain features that are simultaneously in no man's land and in your home deployment zone at the same time. Maybe I don't know. Beacon. When drawn, select one friendly unit on the battlefield or embarked on a transport to be your beacon. When at the end of your opponent's turn or at the end of the 5th battle round, whichever comes first, if your beacon is on the battlefield and not within your deployment zone, 3 points. Your beacon is on the battlefield and not within your territory. Okay, this is pretty interesting. So if you can get like a random scout squad in your opponent's other ass end of the corner where they can't possibly get to it, like on turn 4 or something, this is an easy 5 points. If you have a lone op that is difficult to get to because it can reactive move and whatever, and it is like the combi lieutenant, and it is like outside of your deployment zone, but not exactly in danger, it's still 3 points. You do have to score it at the end of your opponent's turn, so your opponent does have some agency about how you can score it, but maybe it's good. I don't know. Engage on all fronts. If one or more friendly units are wholly within a table quarter and those are not within 6 of the center, you have a presence. Okay. If you have a presence in 3 quarters, you get 2 points fixed, 3 points tactical. If you have a presence in all 4 quarters, you get 4 points fixed and 5 points tactical. You no longer can engage on all fronts with 2 quarters, which was the worst secondary in the entire game because you could never discard it. That one was garbage. It's fixable. I'll be doing another review about fixed after I take the whole deck, because I do think fixed is in a rough spot here. I don't think there are enough good fixed objectives to actually do. I wish you could fix one and then draw 1 card per turn. I think that would be a fun way to actually play it. Burden of Trust. This used to be a primary. It was awful. Let's see what it does now. When drawn, for each objective, you can select 1 unit to guard that objective until the end of your next turn while that unit is within range, and while you control it, that objective is guarded. End of the opponent's turn. For each guarded objective, score 2 points up to 5. Okay, so you have to go to the objective, say this one, this one, this one guards the objective. You can select 1 per objective, and if they survive the enemy turn and still control it, That objective is guarded at the start of your next turn. And while you control, it is guarded. Yeah, it's only guarded if you control it. This one seems pretty bad. This seems like a bad card. Outflank. Any battle round, end of turn. One or more friendly units are within 6 of the battlefield edges. And not within your territory, 3 points. So if you are outside of your deployment zone and within 6 of the edge, so this one is close to, what was it called? It used to be called something. This was a really, really, really annoying card in the Leviathan deck, or was it the Pariah Nexus deck? One of the two had that thing where you had to be like on opposite sides or something. Yeah, it was. I forgot what it was called. Please tell me in the comments what it was called. So or if you have 2 or more units within 6 of a battlefield edge and one of them is not within your territory, you get 5. So they have to be on opposite edges. So that works. You can also be like if you're on this edge and on this edge, as long as they're not in your territory, kind of. So if it's like hammer and anvil, it's here, and you put one unit here and one unit down here, that would also work. Or like down here, like that would work. Okay. Oh no, wait, it's opposite. It has to be opposite. Never mind. So it has to be like this or like this. Yeah. Okay. So it has to be opposite. Interesting. Interesting. I think getting the 3 points is pretty easy. Getting the 5 requires some finagling here. Okay. Defense Stronghold. I remember Defense Stronghold. Oh, it got buffed. There's some stuff going on. Second battle run onwards, if you draw it on turn 1, you can shuffle it back. Really appreciate it because you want to draw as many cards as you can. End of your opponent's turn or 5th battle round, you get 3 points if you control your home, but now you also get 2 points if there are no enemies in your deployment zone. They can't even tip it. They can't be in it at all. Good card. Center ground. This I know one. I know this one. This one is basically area denial, the new one. End of your turn. One of your units is within 3 inches of the center, and there's no enemy unit within 3 of the center. 3 points. Or you are within 3, and there's no enemy within 6 for 5. This one is pretty good. Area denial. This one is usually the turn 1 draw where you have to throw away a unit because it gets horrifically killed for your 5 points, but it is what it is. Always make sure if you go for that turn 1 sacrifice to get the 5. If you only get the 3, don't bother. You just save it for later. And last but not least, we have behind enemy lines. Can't be fixed anymore. Can't be fixed anymore. Because not a single person has ever fixed it. When drawn, if it is the first battle round, you can draw 1 new card and shuffle this card back into the secondary deck. Makes sense? No turn 1. But you can score it if you have the means to. You don't have to shuffle it back. For each friendly unit in your opponent's deployment zone, score 3 points up to 5. Okay, so it's wholly within, but it's now 3 points per. Before it was like 2 plus 3, but it's the same thing effectively. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Okay, doesn't matter, but yeah. Behind is a difficult card to score, but it gets much better if you can hold on to it. So I do like this one. This one is fine. All right, so that's all the secondaries. Let's take a look at the fixed ones. So what exactly are you supposed to take in what matchup? So you have Grievous Blow, which is a mix of Titan Slayer and Cull the Horde, basically. You have Assassination, which hits characters. You have Engage. Engage is probably the bad one. Storm Hostile is gone from this. Storm Hostile was probably the one I always took if I had to fix like a second fix objective here. So if you play against 13 War Dogs, Bring It Down gives you 20 points, but then your Assassinate maxes out at 12. If you get all 3 of them, that seems pretty bad. So, not happy about that one. Engage is super difficult to score. Maybe Engage is worth doing if you have a recon list you build specifically for recon play, but then you have to pick one of these two, and these are all kill objectives. Don't know about that one. I think fixed is pretty rough. The one scenario where I can think you should go for it is if you play against 5 big knights, fix these two. So you can just table them and get your points. Because you have to kill them anyway, or they will walk all over you. Alternatively, if you play against Green Tide or like another Horde army, you take these two, because then you will kill units and leaf blower them off. With the mention in mind, keep in mind you have to kill the entire unit, including the characters, which is harder to do with the new save allocation rules. And then there's like assassinate and grievous blow against like big knights, or assassinate bring it down. Again, I don't know. I don't know what to think of this. I think it started off pretty well while I was reading it, but I think they should have had more fixed objectives. I'm a bit sad about the state of fixed. I think fixed should be available as a playstyle, because it's more fun for some people to not rely on random cards. I like the random cards. I appreciate them and all, but I think there should be a way to do it. Or alternatively, I think you should be able to fix one card and then draw one random card every turn. I think that would also be a fun way to do it. In that case, the fixed cards would all do something that is agreeable with your game plan. For example, if you can fix bring it down because you play against 13 war dogs and then you draw your random card per turn, like this or something like that. Yeah, that would be fun. I think that would be better. So yeah. Also, there should be other than that. If alternatively, there shouldn't be a cap. Stop the cap at 20. Just get rid of it. Just let them score as much as you want. So if there are 13 war dogs and I kill 10 of them, I should get 40 points. I deserve it. The war dogs don't deserve anything. Screw them. I hate them. Yeah. So this is the chapter approved 2026 mission deck. Asymmetrical primary objectives, new secondary cards, and a bunch of stuff. This is my competitive review. If you want to tune out right here, courage and honor, I bid you much farewell. And just to complete the task here, I will do a quick review of the twists and maybe give my opinion if some of them could be used in tournament play if they ever felt like it. We have night fighting. Each unit is not visible unless they are within 18. An indirect fire also can't shoot within 18. Designer's note: this is pretty great twist for people who do not have a good terrain set. I honestly agree. This one could be pretty fun. I do agree. This one seems like it could be a fun one. Ruinscape. When a unit makes a normal or advanced move, models in that unit have the mobile keyword. Okay, so this should be used if you have a lot of terrain, like a city fight, and there's like a bunch of greater demons, so you don't just bump, or tanks, and you just bump into the thing. This one probably shouldn't be in competitive. Martial Pride. A battle line unit can start an action in a turn in which it advanced. A battle line unit can shoot in a turn in which started an action. This should be a core rule. This should be in the game. This should be a twist they put into every single tournament game. They don't. I know they don't, but this one should be in the game. Battle line units should be good. I think battle line units should be good. And giving them advance in action would be an amazing way. Or shoot in action. This would be an amazing way to buff battle line units. This one should be in the game. And I said the same thing about the last chapter approved. Scramble communications. Players exchange their primary mission card. That is funny. That is actually funny. Okay, so this obviously does nothing if both of you have taken hold, but if this is pretty funny. This would be a great card to implement to screw over all the Purge the Foe players. because they now have to play Disruption Primary. Would be pretty funny. Mirrored World. Both players replace their primary mission card with the same one of the following prime mission cards. If both players agree on one of them, use that primary card. Otherwise, roll a d6. Okay. Okay, so this is basically both people just have to play the same primary. Yeah, okay. I think this one can't really be implemented because players. I think that also applies to the last one because players do expect to do something with the list they have built in a competitive setting, and that is just how that would go. And then there's nowhere to hide. Terrain features do not have the solid rule. So this one is just Planet Bowling Ball. Yeah, oh, of course, this one should be the twist in every tournament. Tell your local Tau player every tournament in the area is gonna be this. Tell your Orc player so they show up. I'll play my Ironstorm shooting list, and they have to play Orcs. Please deploy on the line. It's fine. Nothing bad gonna happen. All right, get the hell out of my video.